It's like jumping into ice cold water, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe this goes against the grain. Boom. Good morning. At least it's morning here in Monmouth County, New Jersey. Hey, Jess, how are you?
Good, Christine. How's it going?
Good. In case you need to know, Jess, today is 8/5/2026, August 5th,
Yes.
2026. In the world of talent acquisition,
Mhm.
architecting, which has been busy and crazy.
It
Good,
has.
right?
Mhm.
So thanks for joining us. If you like what you hear, what you're seeing, if you want to contribute, hit subscribe. We'd like to hear what you think. So,
Mhm.
as promised, over the last 2 weeks, we've been taking a look at what's going to happen to talent acquisition as AI assimilates more of our work, because so many things are moving over there. And okay, hold on to your hats. It's the first time you're here, but AI is going to replace most of the work in talent acquisition. It's like once you get used to it, you got to get over the hump. It's like jumping into ice cold water, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe this goes against the grain. Boom, you're in, because that's what's happening. So we're making the recommendation that you kind of flip the narrative. So instead of looking like at the recruiting continuum behind here and saying, where can I apply AI? Flip that around and say, where do I apply people? Because AI is pretty much going to do it all.
Right.
So how does that help me today? Right? Just like as somebody, a recruiter or talent acquisition leader, CHROs trying to solve for issues, having that knowledge first off is a good start, but we're the ones that are going to move that needle, right? So when we look at the future of talent acquisition, we see the profession moving more towards architecture, the architecture of how work is accomplished. Go back and look at our 2 other videos, give us a shout, visit us on the website. You'll see some webinars about the More from This program is what you really want to look at. We're piloting it right now. It's interesting, some of the effects that it's having, but we're going to walk you through how we're doing it. Now, if you're not going to morph or into this kind of consultant, you're still going to get a lot of value add, because we put a lot of time into looking at what is the current um, ecosystem for recruiting. Just going to pop up a screen that might make this easier. So this is the new ecosystem, the way we see it. It's
Mhm.
no longer a matter of a job description. So let's just, for the time that we're together for the next few minutes, throw out the idea of a job description. Instead, you get a work requisition or a work order or work that needs to be completed. So if we look at how work is completed, that in fact is the ecosystem. I think the misnomer and the way that we've been operating is over here. You get a rec, you look for a person. You get a rec, you look for a person. Well, how about you get a rec, you look at it as a work request, and then you start to apply today's ecosystem, which is always going to start over here with the AI agents. The thing that I like the most about this is that the number 2 issue that we hear over and over again is alignment with hiring managers is so important, and that alignment makes such a huge difference.
Mhm.
Under the new talent ecosystem, we have to learn how to further align with the business as a whole, because we want to know what AI agents can complete that work. So let's use, I don't know, what should we use for a sample? Customer service, easy, Jess?
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Oh, yeah, this works really well in both high volume and higher level, lower volume, right? Uh, it's not dependent on any one particular thing. I think I got a message from somebody last week about that. This is good for high volume, but does it work for professional? No, it actually works just as well, if not better, in some of the cases that I'm seeing. So really align, let's say we're aligned with customer service. That's who we're servicing. We want to know what kind of AI is available to complete the work. And if you think about it this way, the current state of US business is that the board and all C-suite is saying, okay, operations leaders and divisions and departments, how are you going to use AI? And a lot of them are being
Right.
bonused around bringing good AI tools in. So if I'm running a customer service department, how do I know and keep on track of those? And wouldn't you value a TA partner who can come to you and say, this is a new AI call system. Maybe we want to test this out before we hire 4 more people, because this is saying it will replace 4 people. So making smart, educated decisions and keeping this, I'll call it a cadre. I think of it as a tickler, right? I'm old enough to think of it, a tickler, or in today's world, a CRM, right? A relationship management tool that tracks the AI that's out there. And I think there's a lot of wins that come from a knowledge base, right? And I can tell you, you will see more that fail at this point than are successful. But if we know what that is in support of a customer service department, we now have more knowledge than most that are out there. And that knowledge we can use to work with those suppliers to help create the tools. So it's not just a directory I'm preparing, I'm building a relationship with these suppliers of work tech, of work AI, so that I can not just depend on Reddit to tell AI what I need, but now I have real insight. I think of it like we get so many complaints about ATSs, right? Applicant tracking systems, for a myriad of reasons. I don't think you should throw the baby out with the bathwater there, but it's a situation where we don't have a lot of influence over a lot of our HR tech. This is the opportunity to have the influence and to not only talk to this AI developer of a customer service tool about how the tool executes, but the people that are in relation to that and how those people work so that it can mimic it even better. Any thoughts on that section of things, Jess, and the relationships there?
Yeah, I think it's good as talent acquisition continues to evolve to really jump in and become that subject matter expert, partner with the business. And as we're talking about AI agents taking over parts of the role responsibilities, I know a lot of people will get scared and don't like the sound of it, but it's important to remember that AI agents are tools for execution, not necessarily judgment. So you still need humans in the seat to make judgment calls, but AI is going to really organize information for them, surface patterns, automate the transactions that they've been doing manually. So still need humans in there to evaluate things like cultural fit, complex negotiations, discussion situations. But keeping
I
that
think
in
it's worth
mind, I think
mentioning.
people will be
Yeah,
more apt to move over to this type of thinking because it is scary at first.
it's very scary.
Mhm.
That's why we keep talking about it.
Right.
I mean, we hid under the covers for like a year trying to figure out how AI wouldn't take over, but it is, and it should.
Yes.
The only thing I would challenge about what you're saying too, Jess, is like the judgment side, because now I'm seeing AI make some of those judgment calls based on good data. It still has to be managed, it still has to be overviewed, but I don't know, more and
I
more.
think it can help with judgment, but making the final decision, I think, should still be a human.
Yeah, being the person ready to pull the plug if AI
Right.
jumps the road, right?
Yeah.
Like it's doing already. Admittedly, all the super LLMs are saying that they're now taking a dive into each other, right? Which
Mhm.
could be a conflict of interest to begin with. But if you're
Sure.
not looking at AI and you're trying to complete work, you're really out of the window. So the worst case scenario is the opposite of this, right? So what we see is you're in talent acquisition, you're fighting the move over to AI. Okay, you'll use one tool that'll help you find some candidates, which is a good experience, right? And that's a good way to get started. But the truth is, it's limiting your belief system. We need today to get ahead of this and look at those broad strokes in that whole economy. So AI agents first, building the cadre, building the relationship, and having real relationships with insight into how those tools are being built and communicating that to the rest of the organization, and particularly your stakeholders that you're aligned with on the AI side. Moving along to contingent. So contingent, for the purpose of the ecosystem that we're addressing, includes outsourced providers, meaning you could outsource your whole call center, right? Contingent workers being temp workers and direct hire contingent search firms. Also, any kind of contractors that you're looking at or somebody's going to come in and augment. This is a great time to finally look at the work to be completed and make really smart decisions. There's a big imbalance when we come in as consultants, particularly to like Fortune 50s. We'll see quite often there's a huge contingent spend that isn't warranted, that's there because they didn't have the right recruiting tools, so they just went to a contractor. But there's a lot of times, and much of the business economy that we see now, particularly in retail, grew from franchising, which is another form of contingent. Outsourcing companies where I know somebody who just was highly aligned with utilities and was purchased by one of the utilities companies, and they're assimilating that whole organization into theirs. So looking at how this work is completed and saying, are there outsourced providers that can do the work? Should it be a temp or a contract worker? What kind of firm should we be aligned with? And understanding, and again, using that customer service model, those that are specific in how it works for customer service. So no longer looking at who's the person for the job, now looking at, should it be a person? Should it be AI? Should it be contingent? And now over to internal. So before we move from contingent, anything else that you want to inject in there, Jess?
I think contingent talent, especially in today's new world of work, is a brilliant idea to make sure that organizations can stay flexible within their capacity needs. So if you have a project-based specialist working on something, an interim leader that's needed for a short amount of time, there are so many talented people right now that are looking for that type of work opportunity that I think, it would be a loss to not consider that.
Right. And if you can get ahead of that now, the workforce is shrinking. Right. And a lot of the talent in the age brackets that we would say where the knowledge comes in, which is typically, like 35 to 60 is a huge knowledge base, right? And in your 50s is where most people tend to make the most money, where their knowledge is most valued. These individuals are actually leaving the workforce
Right.
as are the boomers. So we have a lot more aging people in society now than we did ever. And at the same time, they are starting their own companies or they're willing to consult. So we're seeing
Yes.
more of that. Also, if you really want to get your arms around AI, maybe you can assimilate it into your organization as fast as you'd like to. Maybe you can't create it as fast as you like to, but there could be a supplier out there who can do that for you. So being the architect of work, understanding who they are, again, and building that, your own tickler file of who you should call them when you have that kind of a need is really going to give you a competitive edge.
Mm-hmm.
So moving over to internal, I think one of the greatest things that AI can help us do is take a deep dive into the internal strength that we have and then make decisions based on what kind of skill set do we have as say the common denominator. How do we train up to that? How long does it take to train it? How much does it cost to train it? And then be able to evaluate that against all the other factors. So being able to say, is it worth it to try and train our entry level people that are doing basic accounting to go into customer service or customer service to go into sales? Like, what should the pipeline look like? And then knowing as the work architects that exact ramp up time, the cost to train, and helping to build those internal strengths. Uh, I think a lot of times when we talk to organizations, the reason they don't have this stellar internal roadmap is two things, right? The managers don't want to give up their people to somebody else. So that tends to be a political roadblock, right? But once you get past that, then you've got the data that comes in from AI that it can dig into your systems and do, which is huge, right? I
Right.
mean, if you saw our one of our monthly webinars with Troy Avery,
Right.
here's an HR guy who just created his own algorithms. He taught himself over 40 hours how to become an AI developer and fully automated his whole job. I mean, it's not as difficult as you think to come up with these tools that will tell you what your internal strengths are and where to go from there. So, uh, anything to add on internals before we move?
I think it's one of the most cost effective and underused resources available. But as you were starting to mention, there is the challenge with it. It really requires the right support within the organization. So without visibility of what your existing employee base, what their skills are, and if you don't have pathways for growth within the company, and most importantly, if you don't have hiring manager buy-in, you can have a lot of great internal candidates that are often overlooked.
What a miss that is,
Mhm.
right? Like, I'll take that. I'm an internal employee. I'll take that job. I'd like to take even a lateral move to keep moving. And you're like, yeah, no, we didn't even know you were there. It's like
Right.
ghosting your own people. And it happens a lot more than you think, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of times there's a chain of command that's kind of keeping them hidden. Or saying, I'll promote Jess, but I want it to be at my time where I think she should go. So as a mentor, it helps me too. So I
Right.
think being the work architect takes that out of it, saying we need to look at this from a human resource perspective, a true human resource perspective. And we need to look at it from a career pathing perspective. And I know a lot of companies are dedicated to it. I just don't see it being as
They're usually the
successful.
ones that have the best retention numbers as well and productivity numbers.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Well, they're the one, the closer you pay attention,
Right.
the better. And that's what new AI tools can do for you. Okay. The thing about referrals, yeah, I Googled this again the other day and it's saying, how many, what's the best source to hire people? And always comes up 20 to 40% now. It used to be like 42% was the magic number. 42% of hires come from referrals. Now they're saying, I think, in other words, Gemini doesn't know, right? Otherwise, you're not going to give me a spread of 20 to 40%. The thing about referral programs is you throw them in and you say, oh, Jess recommended that person, so they must be good because Jess is good. That's a miss many times. And I think the referral programs that we put in place for organizations are interesting, right? Because they can be layered. Jess used to run that whole division, right, Jess?
Right, I did. I think having a solid referral program in place where referred candidates are vetted is super important because otherwise you're just taking another employee's word and you're not really sure what their agenda is. They could just be looking for those extra referral dollars. We've seen organizations that offer referral programs where employees were pretty much having a second income off of these referrals that they found on LinkedIn. So it's important to make sure that they're vetted.
Yeah, and I think don't be afraid to have a layered system.
Mhm.
One that says Jess is recommending Christine because she knows her work and she's that good. Or
Right.
Jess is recommending Christine because she's her brother's uncle's cousin's friend. Or she's recommending Christine because she met her at a networking event. So, like having different layers and compensating at different layers. If the
True.
employee that's referring has done the work, then making sure that um, they're compensated fairly for the amount of work they put in. Um, so the importance of making sure that it's managed and looked at and saying, hey, is this the best way to go? For example, if you're looking right now, if you're looking for AI developers, go to your AI developers. They're going to know who else they know in that space or who's training on it, especially with social media the way it is and building these cadres of people and even building internal advocates. If you have a good referral program, it includes teaching people how to build referrals and how to network. If we're going to say, and I've heard, different types of consultants saying things are moving back in, further into the hands of the hiring manager. I'm not sure that's true, by the way. But we know the influence is there. So why not bring them into that discussion and really make that a part of it? The last two are easier to understand because it's the world that we live in for the most part, right? The rec comes in, you post it to get your incoming, and you also may source at the same time or not source at all or just do the sourcing. So those are a little bit easier to understand. But I hope that we've given you a snapshot of where things are going. Don't be afraid. We can walk into AI and get past this. Morphing into this kind of a system is not just job security, it's the evolution of our profession. So let's get it right this time so we're not stuffed into the corner, and nobody should put TA in the corner in place of everything else. I think this is a good roadmap and a way to do it. Stay with us as we go through this. If you're brave enough, and by the way, you can run this in your own, take a rec. Consider it a work order. Don't look for a person and go through this program. If you're doing that, give us a shout. We'll tell you, share notes and split that up and coach you through how we're doing it and what we're seeing it. Probably get a free t-shirt. I think we have free t-shirts, right, Jess?
Or a hat. Yeah.
Or a hat, whichever you'd like, but we'd love to hear who's doing it and when. We've got some people now, so we'll welcome you into that group. Stay tuned. Look forward to talking to everybody again soon. Anything to end us with, Jess?
No, I think it's important to remember, of course, every organization has access to talent. It's the ones that will be competitive, know how to orchestrate it.
And TA needs to be at the helm.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we're going to abdicate it to somebody else.
Yes.
See y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.